So this will be 8D from that sheet. Okay, so it's y equals 1/2 x plus 4 minus 5. Right? So for these kinds of questions, this always gets you marks. I'm gonna give you a mark for this if you draw this on the test. That's the base graph. What does y equal x squared look like?
So you should just like automatically do that.
Just memorize those 5 points, right? The table of values that I had you guys fill out, right? So it's always, I've done this enough times now, like I always know that there's a 0, 0 in there. I know that there's a 1, 1. I know there's a negative 1, 1. And I know that there's a 2, 4. And negative 2, 4. And if you wanted to keep going, like it's every x value you input, you're just going to square it. So if I input 3, right, I just don't do 3 for the reason you'll see here. So 1, 2, 3, 9. Right? So the problem with drawing the third one is you have more points to transform now. You're not gaining anything by having those 2 extra points, right? It's just now I've got, if I'm gonna like move these things to the right, like 2 units, now I've just got 2 extra points I have to move. I haven't really gained much of a better image of the parabola, right? So I just memorize those 5 points, right? I don't need those because I can extend the parabola up like this, right? That's gonna be close enough to 3 and 9 to get the picture, right? So once I know those 5 points from my table of values from the graph that you guys did, so it'll be every time I input something, I get the y's out, so it'll be 4, 1, 0, 1, 4. That's for y equals x squared, right? If I input x's, I get out the y's, and that's the black graph, right? Now, if I were to change this question, I'm going to do it just so you guys have this, okay? I'm going to throw a negative out front. Okay? Now we have everything we need to know for this particular section covered. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't have a question.
Oh, okay. So, I'm going to read this like a book, right? And I think I talked about this with you guys. So, the very first thing I'm going to do is start on the left side, just like as I would read a sentence, right? And that negative is telling me to reflect the parabola, right? So all their y values are going to become negative, right? So basically, and I'll do this in green now, if there is a distance between the point and the x-axis, it's going to become negative, right? So from 1, it's going to go to negative 1. From 1, it's going to go to negative 1. 0 is just going to pivot on the 0 because it's not any distance away. If I reflect 0, it's still 0. The 4 is 4 away to here. So I'm just going to make it 4 away in the negative now. Right? It's 4 away there. Flip it this way. Right? And then the more of these you do, you'll get better at it. But then I just keep a track of, like, okay, let me erase this here. I keep a track of, if you're using colors, I keep a track of y equals x squared. That's the black graph. And then I keep, okay, y equals negative x squared, right? Not a great color, can't really see it. Right? And then I'm going to do the next one. What's the next thing it's telling me to do? Right? The next thing to the right, after I do the negative, is the half. The half tells me to take the parabola and cut it in half, like, or push on it from the top, or from the bottom this time, right? So I'm going to apply pressure from there, and it's going to cause it to compress a little bit, right? So then all I'm going to do is take the values that I have here and cut them in half. So 0 is still going to stay at 0, because 0 times a half is 0. 1 cut in half goes to 0.5, 1 cut in half goes to 0.5. 4 goes to 2. 4 goes to 2. So now this is the graph of y equals negative 1/2 x squared. Yeah.
No, never mind. That makes sense. I was just gonna say that like we have to go a couple minutes. Or
Oh, true. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. We'll finish this question and then that'll be a good recap. Like I think next week we'll just change gears a little bit and actually I'll do some language stuff too here in a sec. Okay. Just so you guys have it. We'll just change gears next week. Okay. And then the next thing, what's the next thing I see? Left or right. Right, so horizontal movements, which we remember as being opposite if it's on the inside, right? So if I see a plus sign, I'm going to move it left. If I see a minus sign, I'm moving it right. Okay? So I see the plus sign this time, so I'm going to move it to the left 4 units every point. So the 0 is going to go from 0 to negative 4. The negative 1 is going to go to negative 5. This negative 1 here is going to go to negative 3. Right? You can start creating, once you do, you can get this kind of bit of symmetry going here, right? And then you can just kind of plot the points, right? So if I take this one here, I'm going to move it to the left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that one must be here, right? Now, once you get the hang of it, you guys will start getting better at this. Right? You can combine the vertical translation too in the same one and then just draw one graph, right? So the last one's going to be, I'm going to take care of this. So it's telling me to move it down 5, right? So I'm going to take the points and I'm going to move them down 5. Right to there. Okay. And there's your final product, right? That's the graph that's been asked of you to transform. Pink. Okay. Okay. And then the only other thing that I'll write this down, or you guys can watch this if you want, is the terminology stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I would say the terminology, vertical reflection is the first one, right? And then you could say vertical
stretch or compression.
Yeah, stretch or compression, but in this case it's a compression by 1/2. And then horizontal translation, good.
And then vertical translation.
Mm-hmm. And vertical is the last one. All right, and that's it. So maybe we'll change gears next week. 5.
Cool.
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, no worries.
See you Monday.
See ya.
Or Tuesday, I guess.
Yep.